our esteemed participants and speakers for today's webinar. The objective of this webinar is to acquaint ourselves with the tourism potential of Pakistan. For this purpose, we have invited our speakers from both public as well as the private sector. And I think that we would, at the end, we would get a very, very valuable insight from this webinar. And to proceed further, I would like to request our Director General Trade Development Authority, Mr. Abdul Karim Mehman Saab, to open this webinar. Sir, please.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। हमारे यहाँ जो है वो मैं सब जो भी पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं उनको सबको वेलकम करता हूँ और ये फर्स्ट टाइम है कि हम जो है ट्रेड डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी ऑफ पाकिस्तान में जो है सर्विसेज से और स्पेशली टूरिज्म के हवाले से जो है हम वेबिनार कर रहे हैं। तो सर्विसेज डिवीजन जो है वो ट्रेड डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी में नहीं है। हम जो है हमने रियलाइज़ किया कि सर्विसेज में बहुत बड़ा पोटेंशियल है, ख़ास तौर पे जो है आईटी सर्विसेज एंड टूरिज्म सेक्टर में। तो हमने काम शुरू किया है उस सिलसिले में और इंशाल्लाह आगे हम करते रहेंगे। अभी हमारा जो है कोविड की वजह से किसी एग्जीबिशन में इस साल तो पार्टिसिपेशन नहीं हो सकी है, लेकिन हम इस पे कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि हम वर्चुअल एक टूरिज्म का एग्जीबिशन करें। हमारी इस्लामाबाद की ऑफिस उस सिलसिले में कोशिश कर रही है। बाकी जो है वो पाकिस्तान में एक बहुत बड़ा पोटेंशियल है टूरिज्म के हवाले से। पाकिस्तान जो है दुनिया की ओल्डेस्ट सिविलाइजेशन में से है और यहाँ पर हर तरह के एरियाज हैं, माउंटेनस, लैंड्स, सी, और चारों सूबों में जो है वो बेशुमार टूरिज्म के हवाले से अट्रैक्शंस हैं। जो चीज़ नहीं है वो सिर्फ ये है कि सिक्योरिटी की सिचुएशन की वजह से लोग नहीं आते। तो इंशाल्लाह वो भी वक्त के साथ काफ़ी बेहतर हुई है और बेहतर होगी। मुझे याद है कि मैं जब चाइना गया था तो लोग कह रहे थे कि वहाँ पर इतना पीसफुल माहौल है कि रात को अगर 2 बजे भी कोई औरत रोड पे किसी का मोटरसाइकिल या कोई भी कुछ चीज़ खराब हो जाए और वो किसी गली में हो जहाँ पर सुनसान हो तो भी वो जो है ना सिक्योर फील करती है, उसको कोई परेशानी नहीं होती। तो ऐसे मुल्क जो है वो तरक्की करते हैं। खासतौर पे मलेशिया हम देखते हैं कि वो 40 बिलियन की उसकी सी की सिर्फ टूरिज्म है, सी साइड के जो उन्होंने अट्रैक्शंस बनाई गई। इसी तरह 40 बिलियन की टर्की की टूरिज्म इंडस्ट्री की जो है वो उनकी फॉरेन एक्सचेंज अर्न करते हैं उनसे। तो हम भी इंशाल्लाह ये बेहतर करेंगे। अभी जो है हम आप लोगों से इंशाल्लाह सुनेंगे। आप बहुत जो है ना आपको तजर्बा है इस इंडस्ट्री में। हमने तो भी नई जो है डिवीजन बनाई है, इंशाल्लाह आपके साथ मिलके काम भी करेंगे। तो बस मेरी यही तो कुछ अल्फाज थे। इंशाल्लाह हमारा ताल्लुक मुस्तकिल रहेगा और हम इकट्ठे काम करेंगे। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू सो मच सर। जैसा कि डीजी साहब ने बताया कि ट्रेड डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी ने सर्विसेज डिवीजन कोई 1 साल पहले क्रिएट किया गया था और इसका मकसद ये था कि चूँकि सर्विसेज सेक्टर में बिलअमूम और टूरिज्म सेक्टर में बिलखुसूस एक ग्रेट पोटेंशियल है और उस पोटेंशियल को टेप करने के लिए हमने एक मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कॉमर्स के अंडर एक ये सर्विसेज डिवीजन क्रिएट किया गया था। और सेकेंडली इसमें जो हमने एक चीज़ रखी है वो ये है कि हम टूरिज्म के जो इंटरनेशनल एग्जीबिशन है उसके ऊपर TDAP विल गिव 60% सब्सिडी। और हमने इस बार पार्टिसिपेट किया था ITB बर्लिन में, जो कि वो नहीं हो सका कोविड-19 की वजह से। और सेकेंडली हमने वर्ल्ड ट्रैवल मार्केट लंदन के लिए भी अप्लाई किया था, बट चूंकि वो वर्चुअल एग्जीबिशन था, सो दैट्स व्हाई most of the tour operators from Pakistani side, they refuse to take part in the virtual format. तो आगे आगे बढ़ते हुए मैं राना आफ्ताब साहब से ये गुजारिश करूंगा कि वो काइंडली, क्योंकि उनका एक 35 साल का तजर्बा है टूरिज्म सेक्टर के ऊपर, कि वो हमें इस चीज़ के बारे में पाकिस्तान की जो टूरिज्म के ऊपर जो हम अनलॉक करना चाहते हैं पोटेंशियल, उनके ऊपर हमें काइंडली आगाह करें। जी सर, राना आफ्ताब साहब।
Thank you, Mr. Elahi, for this introduction. And Mehman Saab, I'm really thankful to you because that's the first time that TDAP is taking interest in tourism sector in Pakistan. And this is a very, very important aspect which has been neglected in the past. I'm sure this your efforts will bring fruitful results in coming future for the development of this industry. I have a small presentation which I can share with you about the potential as well as some of the challenges which we are facing. I hope I can share my screen with you and show you the presentation. Is that visible to all of you?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, thank you very much. So in terms of the potential, if we look at the location of Pakistan, it is very strategic because on one side, we have the second biggest tourist receiving area of Asia Pacific region. And on the other side, we have Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Europe is the biggest tourist receiving and tourist producing area in the world. And obviously, the Middle East and Africa is also important tourist region. And moreover, on the north side, we have our friendly country, China, which is in the present market is the biggest tourist receiving country and also the biggest tourist producing country. So, but so far we haven't taken this advantage and we haven't materialized things with China to promote bilateral tourism among the two countries. But in terms of potential, there's a huge potential available for Pakistan as its location is very, very important on the global map. If we look at the map of Pakistan, we can easily understand that the country is full of diverse tourism attraction. Pakistan is one of those countries in the world which are blessed with diversity of tourist attractions in terms of its landscape beauty, in terms of its cultural sites, and also the historical elements which we have. Although you can see in this map, the north side is more dotted with tourist locations, but still we have a lot of different interesting places in in the Balochistan area and as well as in the Sindh area. So if we carefully work on the development of tourism product, we can materialize all these tourist attractions into a big revenue generating aspect for the national economy of Pakistan. If we just quickly go through the glimpse of Pakistan as a tourism destination, we can see in the north we have the world highest mountain ranges meeting together, especially the Himalayas, Karakoram, and Hindu Kush provides a great mountain landscape where we have more than 102 peaks over 7,000 meters. And out of 14 5,000-meter peaks in the world, we have 5 in Pakistani territories. And not the high mountains, but we also have the longest glaciers outside the polar region in Pakistan. And all this great landscape, mountain landscape beauty provides Pakistan a great opportunity to promote adventure tourism of various kinds in Pakistani territories. And in these mountains, there's a diversity of landscape as well. There's a rocky terrain, rocky mountains in the Gilgit-Baltistan, and there's a Karakoram highway which link all these beautiful valleys with the rest of the countries. And if we travel down towards KP, Azad Kashmir areas, we can see this kind of green, lush green meadows and pastures and snow-covered mountains and different locations. There are beautiful alpine lakes all over. There are hundreds of beautiful lakes. And many of them are still not accessible by roads. You have to do a short trek to reach to these places. And then there are hill stations in Murray and Gilead, which are equally interesting tourist destinations for domestic market mainly. And in terms of history and culture, our history is so rich that we have more or less 9,000 years mankind history available in this country, starting from the Mehergarh, where we have the oldest farming settlement was established was more or less around 7,000 BC. And then there's a World Heritage Site of Mohenjo-daro, which is very, very interesting aspect of the civilization development along the rivers. And there's a Hindu dynasties remains and temples everywhere in Pakistan, and especially this particular site is Karakas Raj in the Punjab province, which is considered one of the most sacred among the Hindus. And then if you travel towards Peshawar, Mazdan, Chakdara, Charsada, and Sawat, you find a large number of Gandhara heritage sites available. And actually, this is the place from where the Mahayana Buddhism originated and spread towards Far East. And in many countries, for example, in South Korea, Japan, China, Tibet, and Thailand, this Buddhism is practiced. And we can attract millions of Buddhist tourists to visit these places. And this map, you can see that all the areas from Peshawar towards Swat, this is all dotted with various stupas, monasteries, and historical sites of Gandhara religion. And this can become a kind of a Makkah and Medina for the Buddhist religion people. And moreover, the city is also very interesting in Pakistan. For example, the Peshawar, for example, the Lahore, and also the cities which are associated with Sikh religion in Punjab. By the way, Punjab is the area where the most sacred sites of Sikh religion are available. You know the Gurdwaras of Panja Sahib, Gurdwara of Nankana Sahib, recently opened Kartarpur. All these are very, very sacred for for Sikh religion. And there's a great number of Sikhs in the European and Canadian American market who are high-end tourists who can pay $200 to $300 a day for the services, are interested to come to visit these places to see the heritage of Sikh sites. Presently, there's a hardly about 1,800 to 2,000 of them come, but there's a big potential to bring them in thousands. And only the Sikh tourism can create an economy of something about more than $1 billion for Pakistan. Similarly, the landscape in southern Punjab, like the Cholistan and the Tharparkar in Sindh, is very, very interesting. Across the border, Rajasthan is the region in India which is the main tourist destinations, and they are making billions of US dollars by promoting tourism in Rajasthan. We have the similar landscape, the history and culture, but we haven't worked so far on this focus. And then the Sindh province, where there's a Sufi shrines and lots of historical places available. The landscape of Balochistan, although rugged, but it has its own charm. For example, the coastal line of Balochistan, something about 754 kilometers long, has the sandy, beautiful beaches, which are all virgin, not developed so far. So, in potential terms, there's a landscape which is great and can have thousands of tourists coming to Pakistan every month. But we have a very small number of foreign tourists visiting Pakistan due to various reasons. The living culture is also very diverse in Pakistan. When you travel from north to south or south to north, you see all different kind of diversity of religious, cultural landscape available in Pakistan. And especially one of this culture is the Kailasha people who live in Chitral Valley. They are one of the oldest living culture available in Pakistan. Then similarly, the biodiversity and the wildlife. Africa is mostly making its money by showing wildlife to the tourists, but we haven't so far worked on this product. And there's a great potential for Pakistan as well, because we have 9 ecological zones in Pakistan from coastal to high alpine zone where the great diversity of wildlife is available. And the food and cuisine and the fresh and dry fruits, all that is available in abundance on a very reasonable rates. So it's a very, very attractive for tourists as well. And all around the country, you find a large number of interesting handicrafts available in a very, very reasonable prices. And tourists really interested to buy all that when they go back to their home countries. And this is a country which also have a great diversity of traditional games which can be promoted as tourism attraction as well. So based on all this potential, we cannot just focus on developing one kind of tourism, but we have many different kind of tourism segments which can be developed in Pakistan, starting from recreational tourism to adventure to culture tourism to religious tourism, sports tourism, ecotourism, agri and conference and business and whatnot. So the potential wise, I think Pakistan is one of the few countries in the world which have all that which can attract the desired number of tourists. But if we look at the contribution of tourism, it is a very, very low level activity in terms of this GDP contribution is something about 2.9%. As compared to the world level GDP contribution is something about 10%. And most of the countries who are promoting tourism with a bit effort, they are contributing something about 6 to 8% in their GDP. But we haven't so far taken interest in putting tourism on the economic sides development in Pakistan. But recent government have started taking interest in that, and I hope in coming years there'll be a good development in the development and promotion of tourism in Pakistan. One thing which is very alarming for Pakistan is that is the Pakistan's low ranking on the international travel and tourism competitive index. In spite of all that great potential which we have in Pakistan, in spite of all the great sites available, the culture available, Pakistan's ranking among 140 countries is 121st, which is very, very low. This is not because we have low potential. This is because we have not created the kind of a framework which is required to promote tourism so far. And that is an opportunity for Pakistan, because if we work on improving that, we can really become a big player in tourism in the global economy. So what we need to do actually, we need to focus on 5 A's of tourism. We need to focus on the development and protection of our tourism attraction. We need to focus on improvement of accessibility to tourist places. We need to focus on providing quality boarding and accommodation facilities to tourists at different places. We need to create a kind of a good range of activities for tourists to spend quality time. And we need to provide a level of good amenities so that tourists, when are there in your country, they are comfortable and they can enjoy your tourism product. So attractions, as I mentioned, are in abundance. We need to develop them to make a good part of our tourism product, and we need to protect them, save them, to make them a long-term availability for the tourism sector. Accessibility, although we have air, rail, road, but there's quite a lot that need to be done to improve the accessibility, especially to the tourist sites in Pakistan. And when, for example, in northern areas, there are only one airport in Skardu, one airport in Gilgit and Chitral, which is the hub of tourism activity for adventure. And none of these airports are linked with international routes. So large number of adventure tourists are discouraged. They cannot come to these places. So there's a long way, a tedious drive involved and all that. So we need to really focus on improving the accessibility of our tourist places if we want to develop our tourism product. Then, when tourists reach at the destination, they want to have quality services in hotels, and that it's not just one standard, but different kind of range from high quality to low end. But there should be neat and clean bedding available in all different categories so that we can attract different segments of tourism market. And there's quite a lot that need to be done to improve that. And in terms of amenities, again, there's some amenities which are available at some stations, but most of the stations lack that. We need to have good tourist information facilitation center, money change facilities, banking facilities, telecommunication facilities, medical assistance, emergency rescue, roadside facilities, restaurants, toilets, neat and clean toilets is the most essential aspect when you're traveling. That they should be there, the petrol pumps, the workshops, and the tire repair shop. So all that is actually required around the tourism sites to make them a good tourism product. And once tourists are there, they're accommodated, they're having time, they need to have certain quality activities to spend their time on a good and interesting manner. So we need to create a whole range of activities. If you see, That's the lacking point in Pakistan. We have very limited activities for the tourists. Tourists can go visit a place, take pictures, and then there's nothing to do. There's no quality time that they can spend at these places. You see around the globe how people are making money. Dubai, which was nothing few years back, there was just a desert place, but now they have created so many activities. You can spend 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks visiting sites and places around Dubai. So we need to create a lot of activities to make our tourism product more attractive for the visitor. And on top of that, we have to have a good regulatory mechanism to ensure that the quality services what people are expecting they are provided. This is very weak in Pakistan. Presently, the laws which are available, they are not providing that kind of cover which ensure that people are getting quality service. We need to have a good regulatory mechanism. Then the private sector, which actually is the most important segment in tourism. This is not getting that kind of facilitation from the government which is required. So we need to create an enabling environment for the private sector to do business. Government should not involve itself into the business mode as it has been doing in the past. So government should be facilitator and a good regulator and provide all that good opportunities to do business to private sector so they could grow in a decent and nice manner. And then quality human resource. Unless you have a quality human resource available, you cannot improve the quality of services. Tourism is a service sector. So we need to have quite a lot of trained people. Most of the people at the present are self-taught. There's no institutions which are offering training programs, short diploma certificates or degree programs. We need to pay quite a lot of attention on this side as well. And then ultimately, the tourism is not just the job of one tourism department. We need to have a kind of a coordination mechanism among different stakeholders in the public sector and private sector, and a good coordination mechanism so that everybody know that who is doing what. So this coordination mechanism government can ensure, as the present government has established a national tourism coordination board for this, and I hope this will improve in coming future. And ultimately, once you have all that ready, you need to be ready to promote yourself in a decent manner. And especially in present age, the use of ICT technology is the most important. How you can use your internet technology. You have to have a good web portal. Presently, there's not a one single web portal on Pakistan which provide all that required information which tourists need. So these are the elements on which we focus, and the potential is huge. There's no dearth of potential in Pakistan, but the element of product developments are missing. We haven't so far focused on the development of tourism product. That's why our ranking is very, very low on all these indicators. We need to see how we can improve upon all these indicators. This will be a kind of eye-opening framework for us if we improve our visa facilitation from 122nd position to less than 100. Even we try to do that. And on safety and security, we are 34th. We should try to improve upon. So all these indicators tells us where our weaknesses are, and we can improve on this framework. Although the model which government is trying to focus and rest of the countries are focusing around the world is now the sustainable development of tourism, where the long-term benefits are kept in mind and things are done in a way that tourism is promoted with a vision to promote tourism for the present time, but keeping in view the long-term sustainability. In Pakistan, the CPAC is going to be, I think, a big game changer in coming days because the infrastructure which has been developed and which is under process will create a lot of opportunity to improve the accessibility to tourism sites in Pakistan. And all this will create a lot of new opportunities for investment along the CPAC route to develop new places and improve the existing places. And moreover, it is going to link Pakistan, inshallah, with the old Silk Route, the China, the Central Asian countries, the new two train projects which are going, government is going to launch with the Pakistan, Iran, and Turkey, and also Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Tajikistan. Ultimately, Pakistan will become a real hub of tourism in coming future, but we need to start working right now on the development of our tourism aspect. It is never too late. The potential is there, the avenues are there, but we need to understand how to develop this potential into a decent, good tourism project. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an enlightening and comprehensive presentation. As sir, you have said that Pakistan's number at the World Economic Forum Tourism Competitiveness Index is 121 out of 140. And there are a list of things that we have to do, but these things have to do by other departments as well, and there needs to be a synergy among all the relevant stakeholders like Interior Ministry and Foreign Ministry and Directorate General of Immigration and Passport, as well as the provincial tourism departments. And at the moment, there is no such kind of linkages between all these departments, although government of Pakistan has made a National Tourism Coordination Board, yet the government has not given it a legal cover. And I think that if government is serious in improving the Pakistan's competitiveness index, then all these departments should come forward. Trade Development Authority of Pakistan is also doing a bit to improve Pakistan's image abroad, and as it is not only going to launch a physical international Pakistan tourism exhibition, probably in October in Islamabad, and we are also planning to have a joint collaboration with the PTDC to launch a big show, a World Tourism Forum in Convention Center Islamabad in the coming months. Now I would like to request Mr. Mohammad Omar Saab, who represent PATO, to enlighten us about the problem that they are facing in the tour operators that they are facing in regarding the government departments.
बहुत शुक्रिया वकास साहब आपको हमें इनवाइट करने का। मैं बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ अब्दुल करीम मेमन साहब का भी, जो डायरेक्टर जनरल है सर्विसेज के डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी ऑफ पाकिस्तान के। और मैं भी एक्नॉलेज करता चलूँ कि आप लोगों की वकास भाई की एफर्ट से और आपके इस्लामाबाद ऑफिस के एफर्ट जो पिछले 1 साल से हमारे साथ कंटिन्यूस रिलेशन के अंदर है, डेवलपमेंट फॉर टूरिज्म पाकिस्तान टूरिज्म डेस्टिनेशन इन द वर्ल्ड, उसमें ये है कि सर ये हम सब जानते हैं कि पाकिस्तान के अंदर टूरिज्म पोटेंशियल बहुत ज़्यादा है। हमें ये भी पता है कि अगर हम डायरेक्ट टूरिज्म की जो सपोर्ट है पाकिस्तान के जीडीपी में उसकी बात करें तो वो 1000 अरब से ज़्यादा डायरेक्ट और 2500 अरब से ज़्यादा इनडायरेक्ट सोर्सेज से वो उसमें अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन पे करती है। हमें ये भी पता है कि जो वर्ल्ड की 6 यूनेस्को वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइट्स हैं वो भी पाकिस्तान में एग्जिस्ट करती हैं। 14 से ज़्यादा 8000 मीटर अबव पहाड़ पाकिस्तान में है। इसके अलावा मेहरगढ़ की आफ्ताब साहब ने बात की कि वर्ल्ड ओल्डेस्ट सिविलाइजेशन की अगर हम बात करें तो वो भी पाकिस्तान में एग्जिस्ट करती है। लेकिन इन तमाम पैरामीटर्स के बाद जब हम प्रैक्टिकल की तरफ देखते हैं तो हम ये देखते हैं कि पाकिस्तान का जो टूरिज्म सेक्टर है वो इतना फ्लरिश नहीं कर सका जितना इसको शायद पोटेंशियल जितनी है उसको करना चाहिए था। इसके अंदर बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं जब हम देखते हैं कि वो गवर्नमेंट साइड पे भी हैं। पाकिस्तान की आज तक कभी उस तरह अच्छे तरीके से मार्केटिंग नहीं की गई इंटरनेशनल मार्केट के अंदर। पाकिस्तान के अंदर इंटरनेशनल अराइवल टूरिस्ट के उतने नहीं हैं जितने हमारे नेबरिंग कंट्री इंडिया के अंदर है। चाइना की आपने बात की, चाइना की अगर हम बात करें तो चाइना की जो लास्ट 169 मिलियन टूरिस्ट ने ट्रैवल किया चाइना से आउटसाइड द वर्ल्ड, लेकिन उसमें से अगर हम पाकिस्तान चाइना का नेबर है उसकी बात करें तो बहुत कम स्ट्रेंथ है जो पाकिस्तान की तरफ है। तो हम ये समझते हैं कि कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग बोथ इन टर्म्स ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट तो होनी चाहिए, लेकिन पाकिस्तान की जो मार्केटिंग है इंटरनेशनल टूरिस्ट मार्केट के अंदर उसकी इफेक्टिवनेस की बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है। और अब हम इस मार्केटिंग की बात करते हैं तो हम वो मार्केटिंग किस तरह कर सकते हैं, तो हमारे ख्याल में सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जो उसका सोर्स है वो है कि जितने इंटरनेशनल लीडिंग ट्रैवल मार्ट्स हैं उसमें पाकिस्तान को पार्टिसिपेट करना चाहिए। पाकिस्तान की जो टूर ऑपरेटिंग कंपनीज हैं या जो एसोसिएटेड बिजनेसेस हैं, जब तक वो बाहर की दुनिया में जाके पाकिस्तान को अच्छे तरीके से मार्केट नहीं करेंगे, दुनिया को नहीं बताएंगे कि पाकिस्तान में क्या फैसिलिटीज़ हैं, टूरिस्ट को अट्रैक्ट नहीं करेंगे, तो मेरे ख्याल में इंटरनेशनल अराइवल्स का इंक्रीज पाकिस्तान में उतना आसान नहीं होगा जितना हम नॉर्मली डिस्कशन में कह देते हैं। अब आपके किताबों से मैं एक बात बता, आज तक अगर हम इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड मार्ट्स की बात करें तो पाकिस्तान जिन ट्रेड मार्ट से पार्टिसिपेट करता रहा है, आजकल वो एक WTM है जो लंदन में होता है और एक ITB बर्लिन जो पिछले काफ़ी सारे अर्से टूर ऑपरेटर्स वहाँ जाते हैं, पाकिस्तान को मार्केट करते हैं और उसके अगेंस्ट एक फॉरेन रेवेन्यू जो पाकिस्तान में आता है और टूरिस्ट भी उसके बदले में आते हैं। लेकिन इसके अलावा ऐसा कोई ट्रैवल मार्ट नहीं जिसको गवर्नमेंट सपोर्ट करती हो पाकिस्तान में टूरिस्ट, पाकिस्तान की टूर ऑपरेटिंग कंपनीज वहाँ जाए और वहाँ जाके उसमें पार्टिसिपेट करें। रिसेंटली आप लोगों की, मैं उसको आपको शुक्रिया भी करूंगा आपके अदारे का कि आप लोगों के एफर्ट्स के बाद हमें रिसेंटली कांटेक्ट किया गया स्टॉकहोम, हमारी जो एम्बेसी है स्वीडन की, वहाँ के जो ट्रेड एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट काउंसलर साहब हैं, उन्होंने हमें एग्जीबिशन के बारे में बताया जो मटका टूरिज्म इवेंट नॉर्दर्न यूरोप का सबसे बड़ा शायद ट्रेड फेयर है, उसमें उन्होंने हमसे 2 सपोर्ट पार्टिसिपेशन मांगी थी, हमने उनको 4 दे दी और उनकी डिटेल्स हमने उनको फॉरवर्ड कर दी और वेट करें कि हमें इसके ऊपर स्टेप फॉरवर्ड की तरफ जाएंगे। इसी तरह जब मैं बात करता हूँ दूसरी तरफ, देखें टूरिस्ट तो चलें, आप पाकिस्तान मार्केटिंग अच्छी करेंगे, आप पाकिस्तान को अच्छे तरीके से ब्रांड करेंगे, तो टूरिस्ट तो आप 2, 3, 4 सालों में उनका जो अराइवल है वो ग्रेजुअली इंक्रीज करेंगे। लेकिन हमें उसके साथ साथ इस तरफ भी देखना है कि अगर जब हम अराइवल इंक्रीज करते हैं तो क्या पाकिस्तान के अंदर वो कैपेसिटी है कि जो इंटरनेशनल टूरिस्ट अराइवल्स की जब तादाद बढ़ेगी तो उनको बर्दाश्त करने की कैपेसिटी, जिसमें बहुत ह्यूमन रिसोर्स और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर दोनों की तरफ में फोकस करने की जरूरत है। जब हम ह्यूमन रिसोर्स की बात करते हैं तो उसमें आपका ट्रेंड स्टाफ है जो टूरिस्ट को एंटरटेन करे, उसमें गाइड्स हैं, पोर्टर्स हैं, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का स्टाफ है, होटल्स जहाँ पे आपके टूरिस्ट जाके ठहरेंगे, क्या वहाँ का स्टाफ इतना ट्रेंड है, उनकी स्पीकिंग पावर है कि वो एक फॉरेन टूरिस्ट से कम्युनिकेशन कर सकें इफेक्टिवली। जब हम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात करते हैं तो उसमें आपका रोड का नेटवर्क है, होटल्स आपके पास उतनी अच्छी कैपेसिटी के नॉर्दर्न पाकिस्तान में नहीं है, कुछ साइट्स हमारी ऐसी हैं कि शायद वहाँ पे प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टर इस वक्त जाके इन्वेस्ट ना करना चाहे। कुछ एरियाज में हमारे पीटीडीसी के होटल्स थे, उनको गवर्नमेंट ने ऑल दो उनके अपने कंसर्न से जिनकी वजह से उनको बंद किया, लेकिन उनका इस वक्त बंद होना, जब आप पाकिस्तान में इंटरनेशनल अराइवल को बढ़ाने की बात कर रहे हैं और वहाँ पे आप उन्हें कोई मुतबादिल भी नहीं देते, तो क्या आपके ख्याल में ये एक बेहतर स्टेप होगा? हमें इस पर फोकस करने की जरूरत है। कुछ दिनों पहले आप ही की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने एक वेबिनार अरेंज किया था जिसमें थाईलैंड के जो ट्रेड इन्वेस्टमेंट काउंसिल उन्होंने अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन दी थी। उस प्रेजेंटेशन में उन्होंने एक कंसर्न शो किया एक टूरिस्ट का, जो थाईलैंड का टूरिस्ट ग्रुप पाकिस्तान आया और वापस जाकर उन्होंने जो फीडबैक दिया उसमें फीडबैक ये था कि दे डोंट इवन फाइंड अ सिंगल क्लीन वॉशरूम ऑन देयर होल जर्नी व्हेन दे वर कम्युनिकेटिंग बिटवीन 2 डिफरेंट सिटीज। मतलब, और ये बात फैक्ट है, ये तमाम वो चीजें हैं जिसके लिए शायद हमें कोई बहुत ज्यादा मुश्किल फैसले करने की जरूरत नहीं है। ये चीजें हम बहुत आसानी से आसानियां पैदा कर सकते हैं टूरिस्ट अराइवल के लिए। अब इसके अलावा हम बात करते हैं, जब आप आपका एक जो कि उसका है कि इंटरनेशनल मार्केट्स कौन सी ऐसी हैं। देखें, एक तो कुछ कंट्रीज ऐसे हैं जहां से अराइवल हमें ऑलरेडी पाकिस्तान को आ रहा है, उसमें कुछ यूरोपियन कंट्रीज हैं, कुछ हमारी मार्केट्स एशियन कंट्रीज हैं, थाईलैंड से काफी ज्यादा अराइवल होता है, लेकिन उसको बढ़ाने की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत है क्योंकि ये जो कंट्रीज जहां से ऑलरेडी पाकिस्तान का इन्फ्लुएंस इनकमिंग टूरिस्ट है, पाकिस्तान के लिए उनके जो टोटल टूरिस्ट आउटफ्लो उनके कंट्री से है उसके मुकाबले में जो पाकिस्तान आ रहा है वो बहुत कम है। उसकी मेन वजह यह है कि बहुत सारे टूरिस्ट को शायद ये पता ही नहीं है कि पाकिस्तान एग्जिस्ट भी करता है, और ये मजाक की बात नहीं, ये फैक्ट है। कुछ हमारे कोलीग पिछले साल चाइना में उन्होंने एग्जीबिशन में पार्टिसिपेट किया, एक टूरिस्ट एग्जीबिशन था, और वहाँ पे जो टूरिस्ट जो उस एग्जीबिशन में जिन्होंने आके पार्टिसिपेट किया, मुख्तलिफ स्टॉल्स पे गए, जब वो पाकिस्तान के स्टॉल पे आए तो उन्हें ये इस चीज का, चाइना के लोगों को ये पता नहीं था कि पाकिस्तान जो कंट्री एग्जिस्ट करता है और वो एक टूरिस्ट डेस्टिनेशन है या वहाँ पे टूरिस्ट के लिए कुछ है। इससे ये चीज वाजे होती है कि पाकिस्तान की एक अच्छी इफेक्टिव मार्केटिंग की बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत है। मैं इस टूरिस्ट फील्ड के अंदर हूँ, आपका ऑफिस भी पिछले 1 साल से इसको फॉलो अप कर रहा है। हमें आज तक एक ऐसी इफेक्टिव एक 25-30 मिनट की एक प्रोमो वीडियो हमें अपने मुल्क के लिए नहीं बनाई जा सकी गवर्नमेंट लेवल के ऊपर, जिसको हम किसी ट्रैवल मार्ट में एक इफेक्टिवली एक फुल स्क्रीन एचडी के ऊपर प्ले कर सकें कि ये एक 25 मिनट जिसमें पाकिस्तान की तमाम टूरिस्ट डेस्टिनेशन को हम पोर्ट्रे कर सकें। हम रिलाय करते हैं मुख्तलिफ ट्रैवल ब्लॉगर्स की बनाई हुई वीडियोज़ के ऊपर, हम रिलाय करते हैं छोटे छोटे चंक्स के ऊपर, लेकिन कंप्रीहेंसिव वीडियो हमारे पास उसकी नहीं है। इसी तरह जब अगर हम न्यू मार्केट्स की बात करें तो मैं ये समझता हूँ कि पाकिस्तान में जो कि जिन कंट्रीज ने पाकिस्तान को इस वक्त इफेक्टिव मार्केटिंग की जरूरत है जहाँ से इंटरनेशनल अराइवल गेन कर सकते हैं, उसमें नंबर 1 में तो चाइना है, क्योंकि चाइनीज टूरिस्ट ऐसे हैं जो दुनिया में इस वक्त नंबर 1 जो ट्रैवलिंग नेशन है वो चाइना है, जिसके 170 मिलियन से करीब मैंने आपको बताया। उसके बाद जिन कंट्रीज में हम मजीद कोशिश कर सकते हैं उसमें थाईलैंड है, थाईलैंड में हम बढ़ा सकते हैं, इंडोनेशिया है, मलेशिया है, आपके ईस्टर्न यूरोपियन कंट्रीज हैं जहाँ से एक बड़ी तादाद बाकी कंट्रीज में तो जा रही है लेकिन पाकिस्तान की तरफ नहीं आ रही। तो इन तमाम चीज़ों को देखने की ज़रूरत है, और मैं ये समझता हूँ कि हम ये सब एक कोऑर्डिनेटेड एफर्ट के साथ एक अच्छी पाकिस्तान की मार्केटिंग के साथ स्टेक होल्डर्स को ऑन बोर्ड करके ही मुमकिन कर सकते हैं। अगर हम ऐसा नहीं करेंगे तो फिर इंटरनेशनल अराइवल बढ़ाना थोड़े से मुश्किल हो जाएंगे। शुक्रिया।
थैंक यू सो मच उमर साहब, आपने काफ़ी अच्छी बातें की और हमें अपनी तजावीज़ और आरा से आगाह किया। मैं आपको एक और चीज़ बताता चलूँ कि जो ट्रेड डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी इंटरनेशनल एग्जीबिशन में पार्टिसिपेट करती है, कोई अराउंड 100 के करीब हर साल, तो उसमें अब ये भी हमारी एक तजवीज़ है कि हम कोई अराउंड 10% और 20% जो स्पेस है आप लोगों की तजावीज़ के ऊपर, कि वो हम फॉर द टूरिज्म पर्पजेज वो हम एक अलग से स्टैंड रखें, और उसमें सिर्फ जो टूर ऑपरेटर्स हैं वो वहाँ पे जाएं और पाकिस्तान को प्रोजेक्ट करें। तो इसके साथ मैं चूँकि हमारे पास टाइम की कमी है, तो मैं अली नकी हमदानी साहब से गुजारिश करूँगा कि वो अपने ख्यालात से आगाह करें, क्योंकि अली नकी हमदानी साहब हर साल तकरीबन एक बहुत बड़ा शो करते हैं पाकिस्तान ट्रैवल मार्ट के नाम से, कराची एक्सपो सेंटर से। तो उनका एक पूरी दुनिया में वो पार्टिसिपेंट्स को लाते हैं पाकिस्तान में, तो वो आई वुड लाइक हिम टू शेयर हिज एक्सपीरियंस विद द पार्टिसिपेंट्स।
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम वकार साहब, आई होप आई एम ऑडिबल जी। मैं एक्चुअली ट्रैवल कर रहा हूँ, सो आई होप कनेक्टिविटी जो है वो आड़े नहीं आएगी जी।
Yes, it's fine, sir.
So thank you so much जी. First of all, I'm really grateful to TDAP for inviting me जी. And this is the second webinar of this series. और सबसे ज़्यादा जो चीज़ हौसला अफजा और मोटिवेटिंग वो है कि TDAP ने इस इनिशिएटिव टूरिज्म की जो इनिशिएटिव नेशनल लेवल पे है, इसके अंदर आपने स्टेप इन किया है। Why this is very encouraging? Because you are one organization that has been delivering on commercial fronts for last so many years. और TDAP का टूरिज्म में आने का मतलब ये है कि पाकिस्तान एज अ स्टेट टूरिज्म के कमर्शियल और इकोनॉमिक इम्पैक्ट को अब रियलाइज हम कर रहे हैं, और नॉट जस्ट कि जो उसका एक सॉफ्ट एलिमेंट है जो हमेशा से जिस पे हम बात करते आए हैं। अच्छा, सबसे पहले जी जैसे आपने जिक्र किया, I represent Landmark Pakistan. हम बेसिकली टूरिज्म प्रमोशन और डेस्टिनेशन मार्केटिंग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है। पाकिस्तान ट्रैवल मार्ट के नाम से एक टूरिज्म एग्जीबिशन हर साल पिछले 3 सालों से, साल कोविड की वजह से नहीं हो सका, हम करवाते आ रहे हैं। बट आई विल कम टू लैंडमार्क लेटर जी। पोटेंशियल के ऊपर टूरिज्म के पाकिस्तान की बात होती आ रही है, और पूरा दिन हो सकती है। कोई इसके अंदर देयर इज नो सेकंड थॉट कि पाकिस्तान में पोटेंशियल के अंदर किसी किस्म की कोई कमी है। जो एक्चुअल क्वेश्चन है, जो असल डिस्कशन है, वो मेरा ख्याल है आहिस्ता आहिस्ता नैरेटिव डिस्कोर्स उस तरफ मूव किया जाना चाहिए कि इस पोटेंशियल को हम रियलाइज कैसे कर सकते हैं। उसके होने में तो कोई शुबा नहीं है। हमारे पास इतने रिच कल्चरल एंड नेचुरल एसेट्स मौजूद हैं टूरिज्म के लिए। लाइक वी हैव द वर्ल्ड्स हाईएस्ट एलिवेशन गेन। अगर मैं एक नया पर्सपेक्टिव दूं कि एक साइड पे समंदर है तो एक साइड पे हमारे पास K2 है, सो डाइवर्सिटी की एक इंतहा है हमारे पास। बट द रियल क्वेश्चन इज द हाउ वी ट्रांसलेट दिस पोटेंशियल इनटू टेंजिबल tourism figures and dollars, if I may talk in commercial terms. तो उसके लिए बेसिकली मैं एक सब्जेक्ट पे फोकस करूंगा, बिकॉज टूरिज्म के अंदर 2 साइड्स हैं जी। एक है सप्लाई साइड, एक है डिमांड साइड। जो हमारी स्पेशलाइजेशन है, जो मेरी किसी हद तक मैं अपना सब्जेक्ट समझता हूँ, वो डिमांड साइड है, वो टूरिज्म मार्केटिंग है, वो टूरिस्ट को अट्रैक्ट करना है, टूरिस्ट को लाना है। एक जो इंटरेस्टिंग डिबेट हमारे मुल्क में काफी अर्से से चल रही है, वो एक चिकन एंड एग डायलेमा है, विच इज कि पहले हम अपनी सप्लाई साइड को बिल्ड करें, हम अपनी कैपेसिटी को बिल्ड करें, हम अपनी रोड्स को बिल्कुल एक यूरोपियन स्टैंडर्ड पे ले जाएं, अपने होटल्स को अपग्रेड करें, या टूरिज्म को प्रमोट करना स्टार्ट करें। I think, in my humble opinion, the answer to this is that we have to work simultaneously जी। ये कभी ऐसा वक्त नहीं आएगा कि जब हम ये सोचें कि सब कुछ हमारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बन चुका है, हम सप्लाई साइड पे रेडी हो चुके हैं, तो अब हम प्रमोट करना स्टार्ट करें। बिकॉज प्रमोशन का भी एक लैग इफेक्ट आता है। आप आज प्रमोशन स्टार्ट करेंगे, खासतौर पर जो आपको यूरोपियन जो वेस्टर्न टूरिस्ट है, वो अपना एक साल पहले प्लान कर लेते हैं। उनका स्पॉन्टेनियस इंस्टेंट ट्रैवल बहुत कम होता है। So I think we should start promoting simultaneously. And there are so many other competing markets जो पाकिस्तान के साथ compete कर रही हैं. So it's not that the day we start promoting, the next day the world will be knocking at our doors that we want to come. So I think we need to be realistic in terms of expectations, and we need to start promoting. अच्छा, promotion के हवाले से again, I will keep my talk short. Basically दो components हैं promotion के. एक है B2C marketing, एक है B2B marketing. B2C marketing is when you market your product, your tourism product to the person who will be traveling and tourist. तो B2C मार्केटिंग एंड देन B2B मार्केटिंग आप करते हैं उस डेस्टिनेशन, उस सोर्स मार्केट के टूर ऑपरेटर और ट्रैवल कंपनीज के साथ, ताकि जब आपने एंड टूरिस्ट में इंटरेस्ट जनरेट कर लिया, then you want that end tourist to come, so that then that tourist needs packages, it needs facilitation. So for that you need to have engagement with that source markets tour operators. So first of all, जहां तक B2C marketing is concerned, उसके अंदर I believe the most important component is your digital marketing, is your social media marketing. I hope we remember there used to be a time when CNN used to play Malaysia, Truly Asia, and Amazing Thailand ads. You don't see those ads anymore because the reason is that social media has totally, replaced that space. And now this is a time of digital influencers, social media marketeers, and uh, fortunately, we realized this 2-3 years ago. As a private entity, we have been inviting the leading uh, digital media influencers to Pakistan over the years. हमने इसको अपने तौर पे initiative लिया, and we have done that. And उससे we have realized that there's so much response to Pakistan from European and North American markets. इतने ज़्यादा views उन vlogs के ऊपर उनके ऊपर आए. So basically B2C मार्केटिंग के अंदर हमें इस चीज को थोड़ा सा स्टेट लेवल पे, गवर्नमेंट लेवल पे करना होगा, बिकॉज जो चीज अभी तक हम प्राइवेट लेवल पे करते आ रहे हैं इंटरनेशनली, ये सारे जो डिजिटल इन्फ्लुएंसर्स को वहां पे जो उनकी अथॉरिटीज हैं वो इनवाइट करती हैं, उनको फैसिलिटेट किया जाता है. सो प्राइवेट सेक्टर का एक लिमिटेशन है, आई बिलीव द TDAP or PTDC, TDCP, my provincial authorities, and they need to step in. They need to basically take some lead in B2C marketing as well. I know basically आपका जो ज्यादा फोकस होगा वो B2B मार्केटिंग के ऊपर होगा, एक्सपोज के ऊपर होगा, जहां पे मैं भी आता हूँ, बट थोड़ा बहुत B2C मार्केटिंग के ऊपर भी फोकस कीजिए, बिकॉज जब तक आपका एंड यूजर में इंटरेस्ट पैदा नहीं होगा, जितने भी B2B एग्रीमेंट्स आप कर लें, MOUs आप साइन कर लें, इवेंचुअली उसका रिजल्ट उतना टेंजिबल, ROI इतना टेंजिबल आपके पास नहीं आ रहा होगा जी. तो B2C मार्केटिंग को आगे छोड़ के B2B मार्केटिंग जो एक्चुअली हमारा फोकस है, उसके ऊपर हम चलते हैं. B2B मार्केटिंग के अंदर basically there are further two components that we need to focus on. First of all are trade fairs, both within Pakistan and outside Pakistan. और ट्रेड फेयर्स किसी और भी इंडस्ट्री की तरह फॉर टूरिज्म सेक्टर दे आर गोल्ड स्टैंडर्ड्स. वी हैव दिस लीडिंग एग्जीबिशन जिसका आपने नाम भी लिया, ITB बर्लिन, WTM, फितूर. We need to participate, and we have been participating in these expos, but unfortunately our participation has not been effective, and there's a reason for that, sir. The reason is that in order to have effective participation in those expos, we need to take our private sector along, and not just take them along. I believe 80 to 90% participation in those expos should come from the private sector, and only 10% should be, government officials and such. Because मैं personally, I'm a witness to that कि जब हमारी पाकिस्तान ट्रैवल मार्ट एक्सपो के अंदर 20 से ज्यादा ममालिक से टूरिज्म बोर्ड और वहां से लोग आते हैं, उनका जो डेलीगेशन कंपोजिशन होती है उसमें 99 to 55% टूर ऑपरेटर्स होते हैं, एंड कुछ गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल फैसिलिटेट करने के लिए साथ वहां पे होते हैं, बिकॉज इंडस्ट्री टू इंडस्ट्री लिंकेज बिल्ड होएगा, तो उसके साथ आपको टूरिज्म प्रमोट होना है. सो हमें ये चीज करनी है बेसिकली कि हम अपने प्राइवेट सेक्टर को साथ लेके चलें, इनिशियली उनको किसी हद तक सब्सिडाइज करें. आई अगेन से उन कुछ ना कुछ कंट्रीब्यूशन प्राइवेट सेक्टर से आनी चाहिए, ताकि उनकी सीरियसनेस, उनकी विलिंगनेस का भी अंदाजा हो. बट हम इस चीज को इंश्योर करें कि हम जिस भी एक्सपो के अंदर जाएं इंटरनेशनली, वहां पे प्राइवेट सेक्टर का होना बहुत जरूरी है, टूर ऑपरेटर्स का, होटल्स का होना बहुत जरूरी है हमारे साथ. एंड सेकेंडली, अ लोकल लीडिंग फ्लैगशिप एग्जीबिशन विद इन पाकिस्तान. देखिए, हर कंट्री का एक लीडिंग एक्सपो है टूरिज्म के अंदर. आप इंडिया ले लें, वहां पे उनके पास साथ ITB, उसको ITB ने परचेज कर लिया है. देन उसके बाद दुबई में ATM है, WTM. हर कंट्री के अंदर there's a local flagship exhibition, physical exhibition. We have been doing it at our level. I think it's उसका अल्टीमेट पोटेंशियल तब आएगा जब स्टेट विल बैक इट, जब गवर्नमेंट की प्रॉपर बैकिंग के साथ वो चीज होगी, तो उसके जो ROI है, उसके जो टेंजिबल रिजल्ट्स हैं, वो एक नेक्स्ट लेवल पे जा सकते हैं. And last but not the least, there's a very effective and tested tool basically to promote your tourism and get tangible results. That is fam trips. ये दुनिया भर के अंदर होते हैं जी कि what you do is that you identify your source market. जो भी source market है, there is people before me have talked about different source markets. They all are source markets, I agree. But वहां से आप identify कीजिए key tour operators को. उनको आइडेंटिफाई करने के तरीकाकार है. You can talk to their tourism organizations. Every country has very effective and vibrant tourist organizations. Then you can talk to your own tour operators and identify their counterparts. उनको पाकिस्तान लेके आइए, उनको hosted trips करवाइए, and take them to your tourism destinations. Then that should not just be a tour. Basically, you can have their meetings towards the end of that tour with your local tour operators. So these tools have been very effective. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I humbly suggest these things are done by all other developed markets. We just need to, customize it a bit, and every solution is right there. We don't need to deliberate what to do. We just need to see what others have done, like countries like Malaysia, countries like, there's so many names that we can take. We just need to customize it a bit, and solution is right there. I think what really we need is a will to do, a will to take the discourse from discussion to tangible actions. And trust me, the results will be instantaneous. More than any other industry, Pakistan's tourism market is ripe, is right there for us to exploit, and the results will come in terms of tourist footfall, in terms of foreign exchange. And I will conclude my discussion by just saying one thing: TDAP is focusing on so many industries, but I humbly say, I think you will agree, this is the only industry. Tourism is the only industry, sir, which can simultaneously bring employment. It can uplift rural areas. It can bring you foreign exchange. It can, so do so much so by, and at the same time, rebranding your global image, and giving a counter narrative to Pakistan's, what the mainstream media portrays about Pakistan. So there's so much that we can get out of tourism. So this is all from my side, Ji. I really wish you best of luck. And from my side, from my organization side, if I can say, from the industry side, we stand by you, behind your initiatives, and we always there for you, sir. Thank you so much, Vikas Sahab, and everybody who's participating here.
Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for your remarks. सर मैं आपको ये बताता चलूं कि इंशाल्लाह इन द नियर फ्यूचर हम आपके मेसर्स लैंडमार्क के साथ इंशाल्लाह TDAP एक इनिशिएटिव लेगी, क्योंकि एज यू सेड दैट इन पाकिस्तान we are working in silos. Different department TDAP is on doing with the emerging Pakistan, and PTDC is doing with the brand Pakistan. And after the 18th amendment, the provinces are all powerful, and they are even have their own departments, and they have made their corporations, and they are also working in the tourism sector. So we need that we should all private sectors and the public sectors should come and represent Pakistan from one platform. So with this, I would like to invite Mr. Babar Malik Saab, who is GM PTDC, so that he may express what PTDC is doing for the promotion of tourism sector in Pakistan.
Thank you very much, Vikas Saab. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Chalo. Thank you, Ji. Thank you. I appreciate TDAP's initiatives of holding series of seminars and webinars on tourism promotion. This is one example that different government organizations are now working together and simultaneously to promote tourism in the country. I would just limit my presentation to government's initiatives and government plan on tourism. As we all know that tourism was never a focused area in the past. It has been low on the priority list, and there was no concerted effort to promote the tourism sector as an industry. So for the first time in the past couple of years, a number of initiatives have been started, which would have come to fore, would have seen day of light by now. However, due to COVID situation, uh, some of the major initiatives are shelved and will be launched as early as the COVID situation permits. Some of the major points of government policy on tourism include, first of all, creating enabling environment for the tourism sector. This also includes a regulatory framework and legal framework that exists in the country. As we all know, that the acts that regulate the hospitality and tourism sector operators are about 50 years old. 1974, 1976 were the years when these acts, Hoteliers Act, Tour Operators Act, Travel Agents Act were approved, and they are still in force. After 18th constitutional amendment, the subject of tourism has been devolved um, to the provinces. However, provinces ended up adopting these similar acts. So the first step is to upgrade these laws, update these laws so that they could be modernized and could meet the needs of the modern day. Second thing is creating enabling conditions for the tourism sector. Uh, yes, for promotion, the government is doing a lot, private sector is playing its part. However, it is important that the tourists who will visit the country, we are able to meet their expectations. I mean, it's not just that we are lacking in the promotional and marketing activities. It is also important for the country to have a service sector which could compete with other countries also. So, for instance, we still think that the tourism is very expensive in this country. Even for domestic tourism, if a family visits from Lahore to northern areas, they spend money which they would spend in any other country apart from the international travel, which is the air tickets. Secondly, the services that are offered are not at par with the international market. So to resolve that issue, the government has decided to develop national minimum standards for hospitality and tourism sector. In fact, a comprehensive workshop was held about 2 months ago, where all public sector and private sector stakeholders were invited. In the light of suggestions by those stakeholders, a draft or tourism national minimum standards has been developed, and that has also been discussed with major uh, tourism sector, private sector organizations. Those laws will, of course, not, those standards will, of course, not be implemented by the federal government or PTDC. Rather, the Department of Tourism Services will be empowered, their capacity will be built so that they could play their role. Uh, the third important aspect of government policy in tourism is to give leading role to the private sector. We believe that the government has been competing with the private sector in tourism and hospitality. For instance, PTDC had a subsidiary which had its buses and tour operating business. Similarly, PTDC and other provincial governments have their hotels and motels in different parts of the country, creating competition for the private sector. So to do away with that, it is the decision of the federal government and the provincial governments to lease out the public sector hospitality sector businesses to private sector, not only to provide the best competition in the market, but also to utilize the efficiencies of the private sector to provide quality services to visitors. Coming to the promotion of the tourism sector, the government plans, first of all, every country has been able to develop a brand, tourism brand, and then launch a marketing campaign around that brand, around that brand story. Pakistan did not have one. We all know different countries have like Incredible India, Malaysia Truly Asia, Amazing Thailand, Welcome Scotland. So all these countries had their brands. So for the first time, the federal government has developed a tourism brand of the country that would have been launched last year, but due to COVID situation, we have postponed that, and we're expecting that to be launched in March or April this year, again depending upon the COVID situation in the country. Similarly, our presence on internet was very weak. So there were websites of different provincial departments, and there are the websites of different private sector businesses, but there was no one national platform that could provide all information related to tourism. For the purpose, we are in the process of constructing a national tourism e-portal that will have Android as well as iOS apps that will provide comprehensive services, including visa services, visit plans, hotel booking. For that purpose, we have invited private sectors, stakeholders to join hands with us so that we could list their businesses on this important portal. And this portal will again be launched uh, with the brand Pakistan. Similarly, to provide framework at the national level for tourism development, national tourism strategy has been developed. National tourism strategy basically provides guidelines to provinces and different stakeholders. Uh, the focus and interest of the government is quite visible. Uh, it has been mentioned by different speakers that that the different stakeholders and government departments have been working in isolation and different silos. To address that issue, around 1.5 years ago, the government developed a board that is called National Tourism Coordination Board, which is NTCB. NTCB comprises all major federal government ministries and organizations that are somehow relevant to tourism. It also includes chairmen and members from all major private sector associations, tourism and hospitality related associations, and then it also has membership from all provinces. All provincial ministers are member of that forum. That forum basically tries to bridge that gap and bring harmony between public and private sector. However, the government realized that government departments within the government, there is lack of coordination, and more coordination and quick action is required. For the purpose, the Prime Minister announced National Committee on Tourism about 2 months ago. National Coordination Committee on Tourism, NCCT, meets every 15 days, and it gives updates to Prime Minister about the progress. I am very pleased to report to this forum that at this point in time, there are 126 tasks assigned by NCCT to different government departments that include provincial as well as federal government organizations that are working on this. My last point is that government do plan to launch a comprehensive marketing plans, activities. Uh, this also includes some of the suggestions that the honorable participants have given. For instance, this year, early last year, PTDC planned participation in ITB Berlin. For the first time, what we did to include or rather give the leading role to the private sector, we advertised in the newspapers, national news dailies, that all private sector stakeholders who are interested are welcome to join. We did mention a appreciation fee for that, because somehow the private sector should also contribute in such exhibitions. And we did receive, unfortunately, that we did receive overwhelming response from the private sector. However, unfortunately, that event could not take place because of the COVID. So yes, we believe, the government believes that for development of tourism sector, it is the private sector that needs to take the leading role, and the government needs to work as a facilitator. So there was no plan to take big government delegations to such a exhibition, and we do have budget for major exhibitions for this year and next year also. Similarly, government has plans to invite bloggers and vloggers and different tour operators. For that, we are already in touch with Ministry of Commerce. We are already in touch with Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We are already in touch with Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. You must be pleased to know that in the past 1 year, 12 countries have revised travel advisories positively in favor of Pakistan. So this means that different departments, MOFA, PTDC, and other departments are working together to improve the tourism sector. However, the private sector, my last comment is that the government will do and is doing everything for promotion of tourism, and we do believe there will be an increased influx of tourists very soon in this country. To capture this opportunity, government will not be selling any tickets, government will not be providing any transportation services, government will not be providing lodging services. It is all the private sector that will be doing. So the private sector needs to also gear up in these COVID times. We all need to work together so that we could capture this historic opportunity. We don't want people to come in this country and go back. The social media is a double-edged sword. It can promote your country immediately, but it can also create problems when a number of tourists start posting negative comments. Thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. वकास, you are not audible. आपका mic mute हुआ हुआ है.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, basically, one of our participant, Mr. Tosi, want to ask a question from you. He says that although he appreciate that PTDC is going to lease public sector properties to private sector to reduce the competition between the government and private sector, but the creation of portal is bringing that competition into digital world. I believe it is a job of private sector to build these aggregators and online markets of tourism services. Having an app from government contradicts their initial initiative.
I think all governments जो भी known tourist destinations हैं, they do have their official tourism websites. Malaysia do have a tourism website, and we have been interacting with them. Incredible India has it's a dedicated website. I don't basically the competition is created when we are trying to make profit in competition with the private sector. So this is not a business. This is not generating any profits or income. All the aggregation or integration by the private sector is completely free. We are not charging anything. It is just a promotional activity. So the competition is when we are competing with private sector for businesses. So we are not competing in any businesses. This is not a business generation activity or profit making activity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other participant who would like to ask a question from our speakers? No question. We have learned a lot from this webinar, and we have come to know that what the government sector is doing and what are the ills that inflicts our tourism sectors. Now for concluding remarks, I would like to invite Sir Abdul Karim Memon Sahab to have a concluding remarks on this webinar.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you, the participants and the speakers. हमने जो है ना बहुत अच्छी बातें आपसे सुनी हैं और इंशाल्लाह TDAP जो है ना वो कोशिश करेगी और आपको फील होगा कि ट्रेड डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी जो है टूरिज्म सेक्टर में काम कर रही है। और जैसे स्पीकर्स ने कहा कि पाकिस्तान में बहुत ऐसी साइट्स हैं जो है ना वो बहुत अट्रैक्टिव हैं और लोकल टूरिज्म तो हद से ज़्यादा उधर है। एक साइट जिसमें मैं रहा हूँ वो डिस्ट्रिक्ट थरपारकर है। थरपारकर की ये खुसूसियत है कि बारिशों में जो है वो जो है ना इतना लश ग्रीन हो जाता है कि आपको एक छोटा सा टुकड़ा भी नहीं मिलेगा जहाँ पर जो है वो ग्रीनरी ना हो। और वहाँ की भी लैंडस्केप इस तरह के है कि नगर पार्क की तरफ माउंटेन्स हैं और बाकी सारा डेजर्ट है। तो बहुत अच्छी एक डिफरेंट सी लोकेशन है और हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि इंशाल्लाह इस तरह के प्रोग्राम्स होते रहेंगे और हम जॉइंटली जो है ना लीडिंग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन तो PTDC है, लेकिन हम जो है इसमें हम अपना भी किरदार अदा करेंगे और उम्मीद करते हैं कि इंशाल्लाह पाकिस्तान को इस इंडस्ट्री से भी बहुत बड़ा फॉरेन एक्सचेंज मिलेगा। आखिर में मैं आप सब लोगों का एक मरतबा शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you very much.